Hello YouTube, Mr. Gibson Guy here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm kind of continuing on from the last video that I did. I had just received my first order on a minolta X-1, an X-1, which is the one of the other designations for minolta XK. Well, as you can see from here already, they've multiplied. I now have two X1s. Right after the first one arrived, I got an email from the guy that sold it to me, and he says, "Hey, I got another one. You want to buy it?" And he offered it to me for a few bucks more than I paid for the first one. And I was having so much luck with the first one, I thought, you know what? I'll go for it. It'll be worth it. Well, you know, when you get a new camera, especially if we're talking about cameras which really are in the age range of 50 years old, not 40 or 30 years old, but 50 years old, like these X1s here, then you're talking about taking a real big leap back in technology and development, and what they knew about about camera making back in those days, and how much things have changed. I thought I was pretty successfully getting the first one to work. I keep saying this one, but I mean this body. But I kind of took it apart, messed with it, and got things going pretty good, and it seemed like that was really great. And then I got this other one, and it was messed up, and I started fixing it, and then it just like wouldn't quite fix, and I was manipulating it and working it a few times, get it to loosen up, and it still wasn't going, and I couldn't get it to do things right. And then I checked on this one, and I realized that I got this one working on manual, but I did not get it working on auto. So I had some problems here. I had cameras that were kind of working if you kept resetting them and stuff, but they weren't working sufficiently like they should. But when you have two, you can compare different ones. And unlike these other three minoltas that I have, these have removable finders. And when you can take the finder off the camera, that changes a lot right there, because there's a lot more you can check out. So which I did, and I discovered that I had some problems and some solutions on both cameras. And so that's how I ended up with how I'm starting out here. This camera body is the first one that I got. This camera body is the second one that I got. This finder came on the first body, but notice now it's on the second body. And this finder was on the new body, but now it's on the old body. And this all works. This doesn't yet, but I got some pretty good ideas. First of all, when I had the working finder on this one, the new finder on the new body, what happened was it would work as long as I didn't go below 1/125th of a second, whether in manual or auto. Then the mirror would freeze up every time and nothing would stop it. Well, when you think about it, this one, the finder on it works from all speeds. It'll do an eighth of it, 8 seconds or whatever speed you want, and the mirror will flip right up like it's supposed to and right down again. No problem on the older body. So this body obviously is better lubricated and more loosened up and functioning. That's something I can work with on this one. But the other problem was, and I'll show you something else on this one too, maybe you can see this. This is the older finder from the original body. And this finder came really amazing. It looks like it's brand new. This is the newer finder that works, and this one's got dents on it, and dings and everything like that, which is really amazing because if you look at the old body, like here, on the bottom of it, you see that? Yeah, you see that? It looks like they kind of went running over sandpaper or something like that. At the bottom of it's pretty rough and the paint's worn off a lot, but the thing works like a charm. This is a newer body, and you can see the bottom looks like it's a brand new body, except a couple of little marks right around in the corners. But this one, well, it needs some lubrication. It has a different finder too, if I can get it to come out. The old body has the regular microprism grid, but this one has just a grid with no microprism in the middle. So I have here two different finder screens, which is great. But the problem I found is in the indexing, how you send the set aperture to the light meter so that it can determine what the correct exposure will be. And there is this little arm here. Yeah, you see that? See that little arm move right there? It's in a track. And it's supposed to spring right back. It's supposed to go to one spot and spring right back. And it's also supposed to go over to here. I know that because that's what this one does. But this doesn't. It's in a track, and you got to really press it a bit to move it. It's loosened up somewhat, but it's also, if you can see this, but this little connection here is bent. Now, well, it's got the lens on it. This one here is bent a little bit. See how it naturally springs back? And it goes all the way to here. The other one only goes to here. But this will, I can push it all the way over there, and it'll just always spring back because that's working correctly. But this one is bent much less than this one is bent. And I think probably somebody, when they were putting the lens on, that this little tab here that shows the aperture and connects to this was in the wrong place and it bent it or something. So, all right, everything's working on that one. So what I have to do is I have to experiment with that. There's some screws. I can take this piece off and probably get to this real easy. And then if I can get this straightened out and working correctly, then I'll have two working X1s. But for right now, I have one working X1, so that's promising. But there's one more thing that I was going to tell you about, because I have two X1s, and then as soon as I ordered this second one, or this second one, this first one, as soon as I ordered that, I came across a lens which really got my attention. It was not from the guy that was selling me the X1s, but from somebody else. And I was just kind of piecing around because I have like 5 minoltas now, and I have 4 lenses. Actually, one lens is on the shelf, but I only had 4 lenses, and so somebody got kind of left without one. So I came across some different lenses, minolta lenses, ROKKOR X lenses, and this brought me back to the 70s when I had my XG7, and I was kind of learning more about minolta lenses again, stuff from the old days, or stuff maybe I never went right over my head before, and now I caught on with it. And what I did was I found this lens right here, and I ordered it from this person on email, and they sent it to me, and it arrived just a little while ago. This is, let's see if I can, yeah, here you go, and you can see it. This is the MCW, which is wide, ROKKOR X IS, a 28 millimeter f 2.5, And this is, it was a really reasonable price. And wow, I got to get this. I got to have a couple more minolta lenses. I've got these cameras. And I started studying about them, and I discovered something very interesting that I had read the writing, read the same articles back in the 70s about these lenses, but it didn't really sink in with me. And now I realized, look at that serial number, 1717176. That's interesting. But I found that this lens was a very special lens for Minolta. And they continued to make it after they had to change what they did to it, but apparently this is one of the real ones here, one of the originals before they had to change it because of different requirements. But in in 1945, Kodak patented a mixture for photography glass, lens glass, that combined thorium with regular silicone glass. Thorium is a radioactive element, is what it is, and this is what you call a radioactive lens. They made two of these. They made the 58 millimeter f1.2, very early ROKKOR, and they made this, the 28 millimeter f2.5. Well, how do you know that it's made with thorium? Well, it's got this little hammer in it. No, it doesn't have a hammer in it. What happens with these thorium lenses is as they age, they discolor, and you can, I don't know if you can see it in here or not. There's all the reflections are coming out brown, but when you hold this up and look through it, the sky hardly has any blue in it because everything is this orangey brown color, and that's from the thorium. Now, some people would say, well, why would you want that? Well, for one thing, it makes kind of interesting photography. If you watch movies or TV shows, a lot of times when they go across the border from California down to Mexico, they'll start using a thorium lens that has this orangey tint to it, and that's supposed to make you think that you're in Mexico. That's how Hollywood's version of it. That's one way. But why the thorium? Well, the thorium gave the lens extra low dispersion. Later it would be followed by different lens designs and different coatings by Nikon and different camera companies, where they would make ED glass, which is extra low dispersion. And what that does was it significantly reduces chromatic aberration. I'm not going to explain it. I'll let you look that up if you're interested in learning more about thorium and chromatic aberration. But it gives you sharper images also with longer lenses or even with shorter lenses. That was Nikon usually used ED glass in their telephotos because apparently they had a lot of problems with chromatic aberration in them. And those lenses to this day are still very expensive. But this thorium was what they used for ED glass before they had to invent ED glass. And it's probably better. I would say, well, what good is that going to be if you're going to get orange pictures? You can't pretend you're in Mexico all the time. Never been to Mexico, by the way. But the orange can get cured. You can fix it and make it go away, and then you just have a really sharp radioactive lens. In order to get the orange out of the lens and make it all clear again, you have to subject it to several hours of ultraviolet light. You have an ultraviolet light you can put on top of it, just shine it through it. Or if you put the lens out in direct sunshine for several hours, that's going to have plenty of UV rays going through it too. Just don't try doing it with a UV filter because it won't make it. So we put it out in the sun for a couple hours. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I think the first thing I'm going to do is I got this camera working, so I got this lens for it, is I want to shoot a roll of film with this and the orange cast on it. And then after that, then I might clear off the lens, give the sunlight UV test, and see how it comes out. But that was a pretty exciting thing. I didn't know until recently, thanks to YouTube, about this thorium treatment to glass, and radioactive lenses. And if you look up thorium lens on YouTube, you get a whole bunch of stuff, and guys went out and get Geiger counters and they hold them up to the lens, and and you get all sorts of radiation that shows up from it. But it's not supposed to be dangerous to people. You don't get exposed to that much radiation. It's kind of a weak radiation. And most of the radiation gets stopped by the camera body anyway. So that's my latest with my happy minoltas here. I'm getting kind of collection. I thought I was going to turn around and sell one of these XKs, but I'm not going to do that until I get everything working right. Then I can put them up for sale, or maybe one of them and maybe keep one. Or there's one more I saw, but that's probably for another story. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you found this interesting. Maybe you learned something useful, and leave me a message there if you have an XK or an XE or an XKM. X-1M, that it? Yeah. Yes. Or an XK motor drive. So I got plenty of Minolta XK stuff going on here with my two X1s. So I will see you next time. Thanks for coming by. This is Mr. Gibson Guy, and I'm out of here.